And now, the Big D and Bubba Weekly Podcast.
Big D and Bubba, they have a show 5 days a week, but they don't get to say everything that's on their mind, so they have an extra one.
I forgot the words.
That's how we
Been a while.
get the podcast.
That part.
Big D and Bubba's podcast. The podcast. Big D and Bubba's podcast.
And the podcast. Welcome back. We took a little break. The last one was pre-vacation, which was June 18th. So it feels like it's been weeks and weeks and weeks because it has been weeks and weeks and weeks for us. The podcast sponsored by the wonderful folks at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Thank you, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
Come on, Jesus Christ!
Come on, Jesus Christ!
Come on, Jesus Christ!
Jesus Christ! You ever watch those videos of the Jesus Christ guy? Jesus Christ!
No.
Oh, you're
I've
missing out.
not. I've not seen that.
Yeah, you're missing out.
Pretty
Powerful.
great.
But I do love me some Jesus.
Yeah, that's good.
Come on, Jesus Christ!
He's I forget his name. He is a former gang member in L.A., found Jesus, and then now he goes around and...
Ice-T?
It's Mike something. Jesus Christ.
I'm trying to think of former gang member. But no, Ice-T was a pimp. I think, he was a pimp.
I have to sing the song to see.
Wait,
Yeah, he's a pimp, yeah.
Yeah, he was Wait. Now we're going to have to look this one up.
Mike Servin, by the way, is who we're talking about.
Servin,
Did you
Mike
censor
Servin.
yourself?
Jesus Christ.
No, I did a joke and went right by you. So, Carson, do you want to introduce our special guest?
Yeah,
today?
joining us on the podcast today is Brian McFayden, and basically every woman watching right now is like, "Oh my God, you have Brian McFayden here."
It's like, he got so old.
Stop. Brian, you remember from MTV and TRL. He's also done radio, and he's like a huge country fan. And just a super good dude who doesn't remember the time we were in an elevator together 20 years ago. But
He
that's okay.
doesn't.
No, right?
I do. I just didn't think it was the right time because we were in the midst of the boy band era.
Right.
And she was wearing a Rat t-shirt.
He's actually, it's 100%. When I worked at MTV, I was in an elevator and he got in, and I'm sitting there in a Skid Row t-shirt in 2000, which, by the way, not many people wearing Skid Row t-shirts in 2000. So, but I remember all these years later, I remember being like, yeah, I was in an elevator with Brian McFayden once. Wow. And there,
Don't you have a Poison shirt on now?
I do.
Yeah, she does.
So yeah, not much
you-
changed except
are
I
you
know him now.
Trying to recreate a moment?
I mean-
is that what you're doing?
I got to tell you, I'm trying to keep the tears dry. I got to tell you, I had a great time. I get nervous in front of the ladies, and when we were in that elevator,
I was like, the guy that basically looked like he should be the sixth Backstreet Boy was certainly overwhelmed by the girl in production.
didn't you tell me you were stalking Kurt Loder?
I mean, I might have been.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Kurt
Oh my gosh! Yes.
From the
All
past.
right,
What was it?
This is a true story.
Why would you stalk Kurt Loder, the
Because he knows
newsman?
Mick Jagger and I don't.
She likes the older fellas.
Yeah.
So my first week at MTV, I don't even know why I was on MTV News. I wasn't credible. I was just a DJ. I was a sidekick DJ, and I came in and I was going to be like the new MTV News guy, and I go into all these meetings, and Kurt Loder would never really say anything to me, wouldn't acknowledge me, and I didn't really understand why. And I thought, okay, it'd be kind of funny to break the ice, and I brought in a thesaurus to one of our meetings at 10 a.m., and whenever he said a big word, I'd pull it out, and the joke didn't go over very well, kind of like right here.
What do you mean Kurt Loder doesn't have a sense of humor?
Yeah, but
I'm
that's what
stunned.
happened. But it took him about a year before he acknowledged me, and I thought it was the greatest day of my life. We were sharing an elevator together.
See?
He goes, and then he's just like, "Have a good show."
Wow.
Was that after you had been moved off of news and into
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
TRL?
I was already
So you weren't a threat to him
His-
anymore.
his
So he
job
could be
was
nice
safe.
to you.
Yeah.
Exactly. I just remember Kurt Loder, for anyone who's under 30 and has no idea who we're talking about. I remember Kurt Loder as being like the old guy who was like, he's like somebody's dad at MTV. Like it was.
He was
really,
old then.
I didn't know. 'Cause it freaked me out because he was 56 when I started, and it was like
He
20
was?
years at 56 years old.
Oh my
so he's
gosh.
76 this year.
Wow.
And MTV's about to turn 40.
Yeah.
So,
August
yeah, so-
1st. Yep.
If you think about it, like in the 90s, Kurt Loder was in his 40s when we were all teenagers watching that stuff.
He was the old guy at MTV. I remember that. All I remembered, he was never fun. Like, he never, like, you know, they would do, like, the spring break specials and all that kind of stuff. He was never around. Like, you never saw him having fun. It was
he
like,
had to
oh,
be the news
Kurt
guy.
Loder
Well, his
gonna do a
smugness was
Daytona?
kind of the cool part, right? He was just like, we'll send it down in Times Square. There's millions of people in Times Square. I'm freezing my ass off down in Times Square. And I remember him throwing it to me, and he's just like, "Oh, Brian McFayden's out there." And I was, I'm like, the ball's about to drop. We're still alive because it was like, I remember it was my first time it was 99 going into 2000, and we were just told hours prior that there wasn't bulletproof glass at the TRL studios. And so we thought we were going down.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There wasn't bulletproof glass. Was that an issue?
Well, there were so many people
Yeah.
out there, and there was problems. And I remember Carson Daly telling me he was a little worried because people were like pointing lasers at the window, and they had like tight security at MTV.
Well, and
so
I
they would go down there and
worked-
try to chase people. And figure
I
out
did the
Times
Millennium
Square.
for NBC that year, and they had welded the manhole covers shut because they were afraid of a terrorist attack underneath. And then
What
I'm
year
sure
was this?
Y2K. It was 99
Oh,
to
wow.
2000.
Yeah.
And then I had to show, I'm sure you had the same, I had to show 3 different credentials just to get into 30 Rock.
Oh,
Because
wow,
there was
yeah.
such a concern that something was, because part of it was, yes, that is the world going to end because it's Y2K? And then it was also, are we going to get hit? And so everything turned out fine, and
Oh my
nobody's
They were a
lights
little
went
early.
off.
They
but-
were about a year and a half early, and
Yep.
we did get hit.
Yep.
We were just thinking of the vastly different lives we led, to all end up here because you're at 30 Rock and he's at MTV. They're worried about a terrorist attack because it's Y2K. And I was we did the show that morning with, no problems. And then I was at like a house party near LSU that night trying to keep my drunk friends from puking on each other.
And I was one of his
Very-
drunk friends
very different.
puking.
I wasn't worried about anything other than getting caught drinking or like my frosted tips. It was going to clash with Mandy Moore's outfit. Somehow they always put us together.
So I have a video of you going your because I want to talk about Britney Spears
Okay.
and
I want to talk about Britney too.
Britney Spears and the whole whatever's going. I'm not even.
Conservatorship
Yeah, I'm
deal?
not even sure what's going on. But
Her
I
dad's
do.
controlling her money. That's what's going on.
I am. We're watching the
I've
video.
known
playing now.
her for quite some time.
This is you. I guess you're at her hotel room, and you guys are drinking some sort of.
Oh, you have that video. No, I'm joking.
Great lighting, by the way.
Thank you.
And you're drinking some.
We were at the
some kind of Starbucks.
Waldorf Astoria, and I found out that she likes macchiato, caramel, something. I don't know what it was. And it was the first time I was really at a Starbucks. I just never drank coffee.
Yeah.
So I read like her book prior to going to see her, and it was like a book, maybe 30 pages long, just talking about her whole life because she was only 18 at this time. And MTV had me follow her around for a week. So it's basically going on a date with Britney every single day, and we became best buds, and that was the icebreaker. So me going to the door, she was already mic'd up. We hadn't met yet. So I went to the door, and I gave her I was nervous, too, because she was the biggest star at
She's
that
Britney
time.
Spears.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
it's Britney
Sure.
Spears. And I remember giving the macchiato or whatever it was, and it was iced, and we drank it together, and I kind of broke the ice, and we just kind of hung out after that, which was pretty cool. Much different person now. Much different.
Was that when she was with Justin or before?
Yeah, she was with Justin
She
then.
was, yeah, according
was
to the
secret.
tabloids, but it was not. No, they were out together, but
Well, 'cause
they weren't really dating. At the time.
when
Even when they
NSYNC
said they were.
When NSYNC was on SNL, when they were doing Bye 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 at the height of everything.
That's when Lance Bass broke his ankle. I was there.
And I was
I'm not trying to brag or anything.
Okay, I was
But
I was
there.
working at SNL
got some
then.
strong
and,
game there,
Yeah,
Brian.
I know. I'm like, we're gonna
Thank
like. I can't one up your stories, but I was working.
On the next episode of Name Drop.
But Britney was she was in the studios the whole time. She was there the entire week, and we all like had to sign NDAs that we wouldn't say that Britney Spears was there, but she was in the dressing room the whole time.
Non-disclosure agreements for those
Yeah,
of you who've
sorry.
never
yes.
had to sign
we
an
had to
NDA
sign
before.
contracts being like, don't. And here I am making like $10 an hour at NBC, going like, really? Because let me tell you, if the
That would've
National
been a dream
Enquirer
job.
wanted it,
Actually, though, $10 an hour makes you the prime person for someone to approach.
that was why I
because-
said if the Enquirer
Yeah.
came to me, I'd be like, absolutely.
Yeah, heck
You want to
yeah.
give me some spy glasses? I will do it.
It's especially if you date somebody famous and they ask you to sign an NDA after the relationship. That's happened.
After
what?
a
Yeah,
relationship?
Did you sign
He's
it?
dated
No,
some
no,
famous people.
not at
y'all.
all.
Who was it?
It was.
Since you didn't sign it.
I dated Nikki Hilton. I'll tell the story. This is like 20 years ago. I remember when we broke up, and we dated for a long time. We lived together, and she didn't ask me. Her dad asked me, And that is the truth. That actually happened.
Wow.
Her dad came to you.
No, he didn't
ask
say,
or
"Hey, sign this."
tell?
He just wanted. They say, I mean, because that family is so talked about
Yeah.
that they wanted me to, sign something to say I wouldn't say. I'm like, what am I going to say about you guys? That it's not already out there because we were always in the tabloids.
She,
Nikki was
It's
the
a great
pretty one.
family, though. Great family.
it's the Hilton Rothschild.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why don't they drop that when they just use the
You
Hilton?
got to keep the Hilton name.
Yeah, but
I would have changed my
Rothschild
name
is,
to if I would have married Nikki. I would have changed my name to Brian Hilton. It's a lot of zeros after that name.
When you start looking into the Rothschilds, the Rothschilds is a very
A lot of conspiracies.
lot
about
of conspiracy on the family.
We knew
never
a lady who
researched
was
them.
a Rothschild, and she married into the family. And then when she got divorced, she kept the name. And the family was like, no, you're not in the family anymore. You can't keep the name. And somehow, some way, she was able to finagle. I think she had some dirt. She was able to finagle keeping the name. So she is still, to this day, a Rothschild. And when they go, those Rothschilds, she goes, yes.
Are you not familiar with the
Poultry?
controversy?
No, not at all. I never really got into
history?
that. But no, the Rothschilds.
Yeah.
Let's go to Patrick.
No, because I never
now.
met any of them.
don't come
Oh
to
yeah,
me.
Let's
come
go
on,
to
Patrick.
Patrick
Yeah.
with Rothschild history,
don't know.
world history.
The Rothschilds are it's a banking family.
Oh, I know that-
They've
that part.
been
Very
financing
wealthy.
governments and wars and who knows
Way
what
back.
else. Going
Both
back
sides.
hundreds of
Hundreds of
years.
years.
Sides of the
Hundreds.
wars.
Like in the 1600s, there were several wars in Europe where they financed two members of the Rothschild family finance each a side. So it doesn't matter who wins.
The
They're still gonna make
Rothschilds
the money.
Rothschilds made money.
So you're saying she's never going to go broke?
I'm
Ever.
saying there's a lot of money.
There's
tied
old
in.
money, and then there's old Rothschild.
She's like Brian McFayden, poor kid from Nebraska, or a Rothschild. I just thought it was furniture.
yeah.
I never really paid attention to that.
That's no.
So now, like when you are around that kind of money, that's a different level of money. Was it obvious to you? Could you see the difference?
Oh yeah, because I was in over my head. I had no idea because especially back in those days at MTV, we all kind of hung around each other. It was like the society girls, and Paris and Nikki were always written about. And I was like, and I befriended them. It was like, oh, it was cool. It was kind of like my kid sister. And then one day it was, we started dating and never came. I think the truth of the story to the story is, Pauly Shore was actually hitting on Nikki. And she goes, "Can you pretend to be my boyfriend?" I'm like, "Yeah." And Nikki and I were really good friends. So I said, "Hey, man, I'm with her." He's just like, "Okay, dude, chill." Like, whatever it was. It was at this club called Sweet 16.
Did we all hear that in his voice?
Yeah.
We all did.
Okay, buddy.
So we started dating literally right after that. And then we tried to keep it quiet. And it was like a couple weeks in. I didn't realize how famous they were until I started dating that person, because I went from like this sweet kid from Nebraska to being, oh my God, that guy, what a douche, you know? It was pretty, that part was pretty tough. But I got to say that family was very welcoming. Very welcoming.
So they
and very supportive.
they didn't have an issue with you being the
were-
outsider coming in.
The nicest people, like literally Rick, Kathy, and even Paris. I mean, they were just like sweetheart of people. I've never had any issues with them whatsoever.
I
They were
always saw
really
Paris
accepting.
as being very calculated and intelligent, more so than they ever played her off. Because they had the show with her and Lionel
Nicole?
Richie's kid
Yeah,
running
Nicole
around.
Richie,
yeah.
yeah.
And they always played her off to be an idiot. And I'm like, man, it takes a lot of intelligence to be an idiot.
Is a genius. That girl kept the family going. I mean,
Yeah.
as far as the name, the Hilton name, I wanted to stay at the Hilton, and I was living with one. So,
Yeah. Well, see, like Dolly Parton.
thank you,
Dolly
Paris.
Parton played
You know?
the oh shucks,
Yeah.
just a small town girl thing, but she was brilliant as a business person. You look at like Kelly Pickler. Kelly Pickler turned a little bit of fame from Idol into something that still has her funded
Look
today.
at Jessica Simpson.
Yeah,
It's a
Jessica
billion-dollar
Simpson.
company.
Playing dumb actually works for some people, and
Which-
they're really good at it.
what did she say? Buffalo wings?
No,
Tuna fish.
Oh, tuna fish. I mean, there was something
Chicken
about
of the
buffalo
sea.
wings too.
Chicken
Like
of the sea.
Chicken of the
Oh,
sea.
yeah.
Chicken of the sea.
that's genius. But Paris is calculated. She's fantastic. She should have her own PR company if things go awry. I mean, she
I
knows
don't
exactly.
think things will go awry.
I also want to go back real quick to the Hilton, and I'm looking at this picture of you and her, and
Frosted tips.
your frosted
yeah.
tips are really.
You're welcome.
That is something else.
There's
Like your hair is the same color as her hair.
We did that on purpose.
Like, but just the tips of
matchy.
yours are.
Brittany and Justin had the denim, and then you guys had the frost.
We were very coordinated people. And it's interesting too because when I was doing radio, I had long hair. And when I got to MTV, before I got to MTV, I cut it all off and I had these frosted tips. And we didn't call them frosted tips back then. I think it was just highlights, right?
Yeah.
Highlights and lowlights or whatever. But I wanted to change my hair color, and MTV said no because I was getting tired of having that look. And plus, every single day you would sit in that chair, and these are weird problems to have, but you'd sit in that chair, do your makeup, and they're like, we're going to throw some chunks in your hair. We're going to, have a little bit more highlight. So every day my hair was different and just mess it up. I'm lucky I'm not bald.
Chunks? What do you mean by chunks? What are chunks?
They would take,
All right, I'll
in like hairdressing terms, it's not even that they would pull individual pieces. They would take about an inch of your hair, and so it would be chunky highlights. So do you remember like Christina Aguilera and even Kelly Clarkson for a while? They looked like zebras.
Like during
They
the
just had
Dirty
striped-
album?
Yeah,
Yeah,
they had the
yeah.
striped hair.
Wow.
And that's what the chunks were.
And I had short hair, so it was just constantly like, okay, we're going to put brown lowlights in your hair and then chunk it up with the highlights. And like most of the time, if you saw me at MTV, I looked like a baked potato because I had so much foil in my hair. But that was...
I've never heard of chunks before.
Yeah.
Except in weight terms.
My son wants to get his hair like that, which is interesting too because it's all going...
It's coming back,
in,
yeah.
in a full circle. He's
My son
19.
My son just did it.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, yesterday. He just dyed his hair, and it's now like highlight with like the blonde streaks and all that kind of stuff. I'm like,
Do you roll your eyes like our parents probably did to us when we were kids?
I don't, because I had, I was a skater back in the
yeah,
day, and I
okay,
had the Tony Hawk bangs and I don't. Whatever. It's hair. It'll grow back.
You had the flop?
I did. I did, dude. It used
That
to
was the
come
best
down.
haircut.
I could pull it down to my chest.
My mom shaved my head because of the Tony Hawk haircut. She shaved I was 13 years old and I came home and my best friend shaved the side of my head and I was trying to grow it out. And it was Easter weekend and I always wore a hat and I always had the bill going up, I thought I was such a poser.
Yeah.
But so my mom goes, well, when you go to grandma and grandpa's, you have to take your hat off. And I go, oh no, I didn't think about that. And my head was shaved on one side. And she goes, take your hat off. I'm like, nah, I'll wait. And I was trying to figure out ways to get out of going, it was Easter Sunday. And then she goes, take your hat off. And then my mom, she uses the F word. That was it.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, you take, and I was
It got real. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it got really real. And then she goes, and chased me around the kitchen table and then went to the bathroom, got the dog clippers out, shaved my head, and I had like triangles in the back of my head. And I'll never forget this. I'm like in the 8th grade, I'm crying, and it wasn't fixed yet. So after Easter on Monday, because everything was closed, we went to, was it Hair Crafters or like one of those like
Supercuts kind of thing.
terrible place. They gave me a flat top. So whatever was left, it was like she made sure I looked ridiculous. And I remember going back to school, and Mr. Hathey was our principal. I was wearing a hat, and he goes, you can't wear a hat. And I said, I go, I'm having a problem. And I was crying. And I go, can I please wear a hat? He goes, take your hat off. And I took it off. And he goes, put your hat back on.
Well,
and he kind of winked at me, and he goes, I didn't see it. And I was like, okay, cool.
Are you? I know you're a big Nebraska fan. Are you pumped up about the football season? Kind of getting back into a normal.
I think I
fall?
got fired from HLN's morning show because I predicted they would win the national championship when we'd have a chance in hell. I can't go against my Huskers. I always say we're going to go undefeated.
I always say
But
this:
yeah,
no matter what year it is, no matter who's the coach, no matter who the players are. What do I always say, Patrick?
The Saints are going to win the Super Bowl.
This is the year, man.
This is the year.
This is the year.
And
It's
then
gonna happen
here's the
again.
thing.
Watch.
I met Bubba in 1999, and he was saying that in 1999. So 10 years later, after 10 years of this is the year, Big D, this is the year. Saints are going to win the Super Bowl.
And you
then
believe
they finally
it.
win the Super Bowl.
I
And,
believed it in my heart.
Gosh, you realize we had
Bubba,
to put up with that for I'm a Saints fan. I was super excited they won the Super Bowl, and I still dreaded coming in here the next day to hear Bubba go, I told you, did I say it was the year?
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
So Jameson, he's going to be starting quarterback, you think? Or do you think it's going to be Drew Brees? Do you think he'll come back?
No.
He's
Drew's
done.
done. Yeah, Drew's done. He played so hurt last year, and nobody knew it until after the season. He had a plantar fasciitis. He had all the broken ribs and the punctured lung,
prosthetic
and all that
arm.
kind of stuff. Yeah, basically. Yeah, he had rotator issues. I mean, he was all messed up. That's why he couldn't throw the deep ball.
I thought for sure you'd keep Teddy Bridgewater and he'd be playing.
You know, I did too, but I guess, the way it all worked, they couldn't pay Teddy the year that he had to leave. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think with Jameis there, you're a 9-win team. I don't know what else happens. I think, we got Book from Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I think if Jameis doesn't do well, I think they let him in halfway through the season.
I think you guys are going to be okay this year. And I
think it's still a 9-win year. I really do. I'm not too concerned about it.
Because Winston, he's such a great quarterback, but he's inconsistent. And if you can find that consistency,
Yeah,
just focus.
if only there was a quarterback or coach who was really good at dealing with quarterbacks who can throw short passes. I can't think of anybody in the NFL who's been great at that for the last 20 years.
So it's obviously you guys are Tigers fans, right?
Oh, yeah, a little bit. Did you see my purple office?
No, I thought that was for the Vikings.
No,
He's like
huge Viking fan.
We're a big Prince fan.
Yeah,
I am actually, but no, it's. I'm
Did you ever
an
meet
LSU
Prince
guy.
being at MTV and all?
Yes, I have. He came in, and it was weirdest thing because Carson interviewed him, and it was really
That's Carson Daly, not to be confused.
It was
yeah.
It was Carson in a rat T-shirt. He had him on the show, and everyone's so excited to go down there because Prince doing TRL, that's insane. And it was my first year there and going down, and it was just the most awkward interview ever. And when I was a DJ in Minneapolis, I was on the radio with this guy named Kane, talented guy. We lived together with this other dude who was the manager of Paisley Park, and he used to come home with Prince's clothes. And we was like, why does he always leave these women's clothes like here? And he goes, oh, that's Prince's.
Yeah, he's a tiny dude.
And we would play this game. If we had social media, he would have been fired like way before he got fired. Yeah. We used to see who could fit into a shirt. And it was like always a blouse and
you
like
wore
whatever.
Prince's shirts?
I tried to put him on.
What?
Yeah, I mean I can't get canceled for that, can I?
Probably not now. But
yeah,
You're probably fine. He would seem odd to me.
Remember,
like,
I saw
just
him.
trying to talk to him.
I saw him at a
eccentric,
bookstore,
yeah.
and I'm like, "That's the cool." He was in full Prince regalia.
Prince was reading?
He was walking through a bookstore. I don't know if he was reading or not, and he was surrounded by security and all that. I'm like, "Dude is walking out of a book. What?" It was the coolest
Bubba
thing.
was such a big Prince.
The epitome of cool. I mean, to have that was most outside of Madonna. That was probably the most people I've ever seen trying to get into the TRL studios just to get a glimpse. And I'm talking staffers.
Yeah.
Well,
Who had the biggest entourage of anybody?
J-Lo, hands down.
Really?
Oh, and Puffy. And
Oh, I
Puffy's
can
office
see
was
that.
right across the street. And
And he had to have everybody come over.
it was the worst too because I remember when Puffy would come into the TRL studios, I was like, "Am I hosting today?" And I looked down, I'm like, "Hosting today." Basically, Puffy's hosting today because it becomes the Puff Daddy show or the P Diddy's when he changed his name to P Diddy. But he would come down and take over, and it was like basically all of his artists that he wanted to promote. Yeah, you never got a word in, but we
I
did.
can imagine.
We did win Rock and Jock basketball together. He was on my team. Got a big giant Nestle's bar. I thought that was pretty cool.
Wow, forget about Rock and Jock.
I know.
Do you guys know the answer? I know, but do you know who has the biggest entourage who's ever come into this studio?
Yes, True Colors. What's her name?
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi
yes.
Lauper.
Well, you had
showed up-
Cyndi Lauper here?
Yes, she showed up for an interview with. I want to say it was 11 people. I can do this. She had someone to do her makeup, her hair, her personal assistant, the person from the record label, her manager, her agent, and
There
the
was a
driver,
driver.
and her.
Yeah,
and
there
I'm
was-
leaving somebody else because there were 9 people. They pulled up in 2 black SUVs like she was the president of the United States.
I
Like,
showed up with
it
my
was
best
crazy.
friend
Oh, 2 drivers,
from
that's
St.
what it was.
Louis. I'm like, just wait in the car until they get us.
I remember.
What's up, buddy?
I remember when we had. It was when Taylor was going through all that stuff with that weird stalker guy, and
This
it
is
wasn't
before
so much-
before the lawsuit, right?
Yes.
Okay.
It was when we were at the old studio because we're in a building with other radio stations, and they made everyone do like some kind of background check.
That was the first.
just
yeah,
to
that,
be in the building.
Yeah, that was the first time I had ever seen that. In fact, that's the only time I've ever seen that.
Carrie
where-
Underwood went through a phase where they had to know everyone who was going to be in the building. They didn't go as far as with Taylor, but they wanted the names of everyone who would be on the floor because they didn't want extra people to just show up.
I just want to have friends, like that would be willing to come with me to these things.
It's just terrible, that you're just trying to, man, you're just trying to do what you love doing. You're an artist and you just want to play music.
Yeah.
And then to have
it turned into something like that?
People so much that they get weird, and then you got to get security. And
Let me ask you guys
all that
this.
stuff.
If you had MC Hammer on back in 1990, and then you had him on today.
I hung out with MC Hammer back in 1990.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So that was a huge entourage.
I wasn't always working in country. Yeah, he had a huge entourage, and his. I remember his personal bodyguard was this guy. He was like 6'7", and he had size 18 British Knights on, and they were blue suede British Knights. And I'm like, dude, this guy is the largest human being I've ever seen in my life.
What a memory Bubba's got on it.
Oh, dude, I'm still.
Where were you during the OJ trial?
They could have used me for Cosby too. I mean, Yeah, but
this guy had size 18. They were blue, baby blue.
Well,
Partly cloudy, 75 degrees.
Dude, blue suede shoes back then. I'm like, these things they're boats. But yeah, he had a humongous crew with him. And it was probably 30 or 40 people. It was like he showed up. He could have filled up, 8 or 9 of this place.
How would his eyes look in these lights?
I don't remember that.
His eyes.
His
weird eyes?
No, I just he was describing him.
Everything else. In other words,
gotcha.
I remembered everything.
Remember every other detail.
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
I was telling a joke that just didn't go over.
Yeah.
It didn't work. That's okay.
Well,
You know what?
Appreciate
This
it.
is
Tried.
We're
this is
one for-
practice, right? We're not.
Does he have a
this.
small? Does he have a small entourage now? Is that what you?
Yeah,
were
that
getting
was.
at?
Yeah, I was getting at. I would
Well, I think-
imagine he probably would.
Did you guys talk about that for Music's Greatest Mysteries? That was one of them for the season. I don't know if they're going to run it, but it was
Where
MC
he would
Hammer.
hire all these.
It was
people
talking
from-
about him going broke. That
Well, yeah.
was one of
and
the.
that was most of what he went broke.
I
because of-
loved.
Was
Of his
all the
own
people.
I
entourage.
loved what he was doing, though. So what he was doing, he spent a lot of his money on employing people from Oakland. People that didn't have jobs and whatever. He was like, "Well, come work for me and come on tour." So yeah, he blew through millions and millions of dollars, but he did that supporting people from his hometown. I always thought that was kind of heroic. I'm like, putting
and
your
also
money
not
where
very smart.
Putting your money where your mouth is, though. No, he
should have
wasn't
hired
smart.
an accountant from
he
Oakland.
He should have had a better financial planner, but I thought what he was doing was really good.
I learned
First
how to
person you-
dance because of Hammer.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying I could dance now, but back
No,
then.
but I
We all
remember
watched
that
the
was-
video, man.
Yeah.
I used to wear the pants. I used to do the
Did
whole.
you get Dookies?
Did you straight up have the
Oh, the
pants?
Dookie
I did.
pants.
I did, man. I was in top 40 back then, and man, that was the stuff.
Did
Yeah.
Did you shave your eyebrow or anything like that?
No, I have natural scars. So
Like Vanilla Ice? Okay.
yeah.
I remember going to see Vanilla Ice. It was the first concert I ever went to. If you ever wondered, what's the first concert you ever went to out of the 5,000 I've been to in my lifetime? It was Vanilla Ice. I was 11. My
It was
mother.
Ice and Hammer, right?
Oh no, it was just him. It was after he had toured with MC Hammer. Like 3 months later, he went on his own tour. My mother was an insurance agent, and she wrote the insurance for this nightclub in Lafayette, Louisiana. And the guys who ran that nightclub were the promoters who booked Vanilla Ice to play in Alexandria. And so they gave her 8 tickets to this show. And we had incredible tickets. We were in the front row of the first section of the lower bowl, and he came up and stood on this speaker most of the time, and he was right in front of us. And I just have this memory of my father sitting at the end of that aisle with his arms crossed and earplugs in his ears, leaning against the end of the aisle, taking a nap, sleeping through this concert. And I thought about that for years, and then I finally realized he was 37 years old when that happened, and I am older now than he was then.
Wow.
Like, oh
He was
my God.
napping at a
And he
concert.
was napping through a Vanilla Ice concert with
Okay.
his kids there.
Have you ever fallen asleep at a concert before?
No.
I did.
Pat Boone.
What?
Really? You did?
Yeah, I was a little kid then, and my mom. he was my first concert. I remember my mom had to wake me up because I missed it because he came on and there was an act before that, and I was like, this is. I knew bad music when I mean obviously it was. They put me to sleep and before he came on, and I got really jealous because there's Polaroids of my sister on stage with Pat Boone, and I think his daughter was there too.
Wow.
It was just like this was like I think it was a boat show or something like that at Omaha. I saw Florence Henderson too.
Wow.
Yeah.
In concert?
In
Like
concert.
singing?
Brady.
Wait,
And
she
Mrs.
sang?
Brady sang. Yeah, she sang. She was the Wesson lady back then. Remember that?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
The cooking spray.
And
or
I'm
Yeah.
like, we're gonna meet Mrs. Brady? And no, we were at the concert. I was like, wow, she rocks.
You get a really eclectic music.
I fell asleep at Vince Gill.
What?
Yeah, he was doing that Pretty Little Adriana song, and I was just like kind of chilling. You know, you sit for like the slow stuff. Man, I was out.
I mean, I passed out at an Eric Church concert once, but that wasn't
totally
because I was
different.
sleeping. It's because there was free Jack Daniels in the green
Cheetah
room before
wheelies.
the
I was
show.
on the floor.
Yeah.
Well, like I
That's
made my
hilarious.
brother go to see Backstreet Boys, the Millennium Tour with me, and we were in. It was the Boston Garden, and they have a big all around the roof is like the VIP, and so we were sitting there, and you had the food and blah blah blah, and he put his head down and napped through Backstreet Boys because he had no care to be there. And
Fall asleep during the Backstreet Boys, man.
oh, well, we went 2 years ago to see them. He started watching MASH on his phone. And people around, he put in earplugs and was
Wait a
watching
minute.
Who was watch? That's a weird
MASH
flex.
of
That's
all things.
He's a huge MASH fan. And so people around us suddenly start taking pictures of him and not, Kevin Richardson.
I didn't know your brother was 85 years old.
Yeah, well, welcome to my household.
70-year-old man.
He
I
really
fall asleep to the MASH theme song.
Hey, did you? So tell us about your. You've done a little bit of everything. You've done TV and presenting and whatever. I'm not sure.
If
what
this
that
was
means.
baseball, I'd be a utility guy.
You're kind of
literally
everywhere. If you've done
put 'em in.
radio, you did radio. What was your experience like with the radio?
I started out. I faked it. I started out as I was named Altar Boy. That was my name on the radio, and I started out in. I sent out a fake audition tape throughout the country. I went by Brian Michael McFayden. That was my voice, I think. Even back then, it was so bad.
That's a really great radio name, by the
Yeah,
way.
Yeah.
Like, it's right there.
Brian Michael McFayden.
It's like any of the Knights and all those.
You had to throw the Michael in there. But I sent it out, but my buddy Kane picked it up, and I was an intern at the radio station. I went to broadcasting school in Minneapolis, and I sent it to him, and he's just like, I'm looking for a producer and a sidekick. You want to come up? And I'm like, oh, my God.
So when he's doing mornings in Minneapolis?
He was doing afternoons.
Okay.
So we went up there, and the show kind of took off, and I had no idea how to do really radio at all. And the show went #1, and we started getting attention from New York. And it was Steve Kingston, the big program director there, brought him out to New York, and he's like, hey, do you want to come too? And it was at the time when Howard Stern's movie just dropped. And we went to K-Rock. We were right there, right in the midst of it all. And the first time I saw Howard Stern, I thought he was Joey Ramone.
I can see that.
I was like so starstruck. I'm like, the Ramones are here and they're still alive? This is amazing. And I remember he came in and he was just like, he goes, hey kid, don't forget your umbrella. It was like 6 o'clock in the morning because they let me do the overnight. And that's really how I learned how to do radio. Is they threw me bones and said,
Well, and that's the thing. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
No.
Radio doesn't do that. So we don't have overnight jocks who are learning the trade and making mistakes. So we have we
don't have a farm team anymore.
No,
anymore.
and that was the greatest thing ever. I mean, I when I remember like leaving to go to MTV, I used to miss doing those late night shifts because all of a sudden now I'm on K-Rock and I was doing the night show with Kane from 6 to 10, and then I would stay. I had no social life whatsoever. I would stay later, and then we'd go to concerts in between until I had to go back at 2 o'clock in the morning to do the overnight with for Howard. It was great for somebody at 22 years old, 23. And I would bring back rock stars to the station because they all wanted to meet Howard. I'm like, this is amazing. I got Kid Rock partying with me. I got, Fred Durst, and then they would stick around and then they would call strippers. And I'm like, don't do that. You're going to get me in trouble with my girlfriend. And not because not with your boss, because back then it was okay. And plus, Howard Stern had them on all the time. And I was like, don't do that. And I remember that they had these strippers and we had to tell them to leave before Howard got there. So they strategically waited in the lobby for Howard Stern. Obviously, he doesn't go through that way. So Garrett Del Bonte, Baba Booey comes up and he goes, hey, Altar Boy, are those strippers with you? And I go, absolutely not. He goes, I'm not going to tell anybody. I go, yes, but please don't say my name. Like, please don't. So as I'm going home, I'm thinking, what am I going to say to my girlfriend? She was listening to the Howard Stern show. She found out I had strippers up there with Fred Durst and Kid Rock. And I'm like, nothing happened. I don't have any glitter on me. I don't smell like,
desperation,
stripper juice. That was
Coconut and sad.
But it's cotton
Coconut
candy
and
mixed
sad.
with sweat and daddy issues. That's the smell.
so.
But that was like literally how I got into just becoming a personality. Is overnights. It
Yeah.
was boot camp, like you said.
So fast forward, you do.
Well, I mean,
MTV
now I can tell you,
and-
I'm
okay.
sorry to interrupt you, but that's a big mark. It's a huge station to get your
learn
chops
on.
on.
To learn.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's-
I was very
most people
lucky.
get that.
Thank God for Steve Kingston and Kane Peterson. I mean, Kane's doing mornings now in New York, but yeah, that guy was.
Where is he
a
at in
heck
New
of a
York
job.
now?
I can't remember what station, but yeah, he's.
I used to watch him
is it
on
92.3?
VH1.
I'm not sure if it's. I think
Kane
it might be
did-
92.3.
He did like a rock show on VH1.
Yeah.
He was like my.
He was also in Sex and the City right
Yes,
around the
yes,
same
he
time.
was.
Yeah.
Yep.
He was my favorite wrestler.
He wrestles.
He was my favorite character from Genesis.
Patrick.
Mine too.
Patrick has he has a great stripper stories.
Ooh, I like this one.
He. What Patrick? This is-
Okay. Which one? The one about the girl who came in and did the morning show with us? Not with us, but the other
no,
morning
just
show
the
I was on?
story of how you were working there.
Oh, okay. I worked at a strip club when I was 19.
Were you a stripper DJ?
No, I was stripper DJ. I was stripper DJ. Get up there, gentlemen. Put
Big
some green
D.
on the scene. Give it up for Jasmine. Yeah, I had to do all that stuff. It was the worst.
He's got the best lines for that, though.
It was about music. Like, because you didn't have Spotify or a disc drive with all your stuff. I had like 300 CDs, and I worked on a top 40 station, so I had everything new. So
The promo
And
CDs.
Yeah.
the
So
strippers had to
the-
tip you out, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So a buddy of mine who worked at a nightclub in Baton Rouge said, look, the guy who owns this nightclub is opening a strip club and needs a backup DJ. They have a guy, but when that guy wants to take a day off, they need a guy. I'm like,
I am
all
so
right,
that guy.
It
Yeah.
paid $50
You're the
plus
guy.
tip out. And this is 1998. I was 18. So 19, maybe 1999. And $50? Like I made $7 an hour, $50 to work for 6 hours, plus the girls would tip you out, so it ended up being closer to like $120.
I mean, how nice. He's the
And
only
the
like
strippers
18-year-old
tip you.
driving around in an IROC
Yeah.
Z.
Dude, it was the worst job. Just oh gosh,
The
man.
girls were not friendly.
No,
huh?
the
Ooh,
girls,
strippers.
the girls were fine. The guy who ran the club was really, really mean. The guy who ran it was fine. The guy who owned it, so it was like a manager and an owner. The manager was cool. The owner would come in and just scream at us for no reason.
We used to go
Like,
to
he was
strip clubs in Key West, Florida. We had MTV Summer in the Keys. It's a good Carson Daly story. You guys want to hear it? Sure. I'm sure it's okay. I can talk about it now. So I was always trying to figure out things to do, and I was like, okay, well, I'm about to have a child. My son's mom was pregnant, and I can't really do anything. So Carson invited me to go to the Nudie Ballet. It was this strip club. He's like, it's fun, and everyone, like the MTV staff, used to go to these strip clubs in Key West. It was weird and uncomfortable, and I told Carson I had to leave after, like, I was there for about an hour or so, and I had to leave, and he goes, oh, you can't leave. And I go, well, I got to do the show tomorrow. And he goes, oh, okay. And I think he was going back to New York or whatever, and back in those days, you had the two-way pagers. You guys remember those?
Yeah.
Like Jay-Z made famous
Nextels.
or whatever. Yeah. So I get back to the hotel, and about 2 o'clock in the morning, I hear this knocking on my door. And I'm like, who is at my door? And plus, this is like the Westin, or I think it was the Westin, or the Wyndham reaching Key West. It was on the other end of Duval. And I get I hear like these women outside. And I look out, and I'm like, oh, my God, these are the strippers from the strip bar, the strip club. And I'm going, go away. I can't have this. Like, what are you doing? Carson sent them to my room as a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was a trail of glitter, like literally going back to the I'm
It's like following a
so
snail.
I get hit up on the two-way, and he's like, ha ha.
Hilarious.
But yeah.
Yeah, real funny. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think you think it was going to be a great job, Patrick.
Oh, it's
But
the
when you
first
get-
night. I'm like an hour into it. I'm like, wait a minute. So I stand here. I play the songs the girls tell me they want them dance to, because they would each pick 2 songs, and they would tell me what songs they wanted and see if I had them. And then I had almost everything they could think of. So I was like, this is so easy. I just play the music. Every now and then I say something stupid on the microphone. They're paying me a ton. My drinks are free. They didn't card me because they assumed I was 21 when the guy referred me, and I'm only like 18, 19 years old. So I'm drinking a little bit, and there's naked women dancing in
Wait,
front
is
of
this
me.
your hometown?
Oh, no, it's like an hour and 20 minutes. From
Did you
my
see?
hometown.
Do you recognize
Yeah,
anyone
yeah,
from like
yeah.
high school?
Oh, yeah, there was a girl who worked at the radio station, a part-timer who ended up being one of the strippers.
Yes.
And freaked out when she saw me. And it was like, well, if you don't tell anyone I was here, I won't tell anybody you were here.
She thought she could get away by going that far away.
Yeah, because it was like 20 minutes outside of town. And who's going to show up at the,
Oh God, that would be awful.
Oh, God, it was awful.
Like senior
Awful.
sister strip.
Did you have do you have any like a name? What was your
We didn't use names.
You didn't have a
say
stripper
anything
name?
like that, no. I just listened to what
As a
the other
DJ
guy
at the
said.
strip clubs, you didn't have DJ
No, you don't
names?
have a DJ name when you're DJ. No,
You can't use Patrick. That sounds stupid.
No.
Big
Did
D
you
would
ever
be a good
announce
stripper
Big D,
name.
that's a
Yeah.
that's a
Did you
given.
announce yourself though ever?
No, never.
Okay.
No.
You just a random voice that just came out.
Just the
and-
voice that came up and said, "If you're looking, you need to be touching. You need to be tipping. And if you're not looking, something's wrong with you."
Was that your voice? That's your delivery?
No, I don't remember.
You did
I
that?
was
It was
18,
an
so probably
overly
like this.
pukey-
It's probably more like, hey guys, don't forget to give this girl some money and stuff. It's probably more like that.
Their baby's needing some shoes.
He's got liners. He's like, coming to the
comes-
main stage.
Here comes Cinnamon to the main stage.
Don't forget, we'll be
After
set
her is
up.
chlamydia.
Yeah, next song, 2-for-1 lap dances, 2 songs.
Did they have a buffet there?
They did not. At this place, they did not have a buffet.
I always found that kind of weird. People eating chicken wings and just looking at boobies.
I just hated the whole culture of it. Like people think my wife when we started dating. Somebody said something about strip clubs, and I said I hate strip clubs, and she goes, "Sure, you're just saying that because we just started." I'm like, "No, you will very rarely meet a guy who despises the whole idea of it as much as I do because I've seen it, but also it just always made me feel
Icky.
awful."
It is a
Like-
weird
Yeah.
thing. When you really think about it, it's
I don't
weird.
like when women pretend to flirt with you because they want something. I can't stand that. And that's what the whole business model is. Like when I was in Paris, me and my buddy Andy went to Moulin Rouge. Moulin Rouge is a bunch of topless women dancing on a stage. That was great because none of them came up and talked to me and asked me for money. I bought my ticket. I went in there. They danced. They shook the
Buy me
boobies
a
around.
drink.
Yeah, and I'm like, all right, cool. That was kind of interesting.
They always like ask you for a dance, and it's like towards the end of the dance. So I'm like, can you just wait for the song to be over? And then like the shortest song ever comes on after that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Then it's
really?
like-
They planned that.
You can't. This is all I have, and that's it. But I was way younger back then. Way.
My other stripper story is that I don't know if I've ever told this on the podcast. When I was really,
Do
I was
we know
barely,
this one?
Yeah, because I've told it to you before. When I was like 18 years old, I was working for another radio station, and it was a top 40 station. And the lady who did the morning show got this idea. I was like, I did overnights, and then I was the sidekick on the morning show. So her idea for that week was they were going to teach me how to dance, which is really, if you think about it, this is before videos or YouTube. So why this was a great stunt on the radio, I don't know. They brought in a lady to teach me how to line dance. They brought in a lady to teach me how to do cheer dance.
So every day there was a different
Every day it was a
instructor?
different thing.
Oh,
There
this
was
is
a
awesome.
tap instructor, the whole thing. And on Friday, the big payoff was they called the Gold Club in Baton Rouge and got them to send a stripper to teach me
you how to strip.
how to pole dance. Okay. So they bring in this girl, and she was the same age as me. She was like 19 years old. And I remember thinking she was sexy. I wouldn't say she was beautiful. She had a weird looking girl.
God, this is so
but she was
awkward.
very, very hot.
Just
Yeah,
hearing him
man.
say the word sexy was
Yeah.
weird.
And you know what?
She
It was
was-
that pause you did
No,
right
it's
before.
because I was thinking for the word.
sexy.
She wasn't. It wasn't like this was the most beautiful woman I'd ever seen or anything. But she had.
There was a thing.
She had a quality. She had a very.
Can you picture her in your head now?
Oh yeah, no, exactly what she looked like. I know exactly what she looked
She
like.
had size 18 blue suede BKs.
And I remember she seemed very smart and calculated. Like she had this whole plan. She wasn't going to keep stripping. She was going to go to LA and become an actress, and she was going to do all these
Did
things.
she call
and I was
LA?
like, no, LA called her. And I that's an inside joke. I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm not going to tell her that this isn't going to work. Good for
Come
her.
on, just course.
She's cross. So she could do it, man. She could strip her way to the top. And you know what? That girl's name was Stormy Daniels.
What?
Yes.
That's a true story?
That's a true story.
Wow.
Yeah, I do
Because
remember you telling us this.
Oh, yeah, because I remember the name. That was her stripper name in 1990.
The Stormy-
Wow.
Stormy Daniels.
There's a picture of you guys together
great story.
somewhere.
But I mean, on a Polaroid probably, or on a.
I was going to ask you if we can find her on the gram, but obviously we can.
It's
We
gonna be
can.
like
Oh yeah, we can find her. But I remember when she became.
Patrick's gonna have an OnlyFans before the end of the day.
Listen, I can make that happen. Okay, y'all want to see this?
There are people that want to see that.
Oh,
Like Dave.
just
My buddy Dave.
Oh, Dave, get in here.
We have at the firehouse. We have one of the people there was talking about it, and they said they have been approached. One of the lady firefighters, she's been approached several times for feet pictures, and
Yeah.
dudes want to buy pictures of her feet.
So strange.
I've had that.
What?
Yeah, I once
People are
I didn't think I was
insane.
wearing a really fabulous pair of shoes and I put them on Instagram and the floodgates just opened.
Foot weirdos.
And here I am so uptight from Connecticut. Like you can't get that out of me, man. And I just I looked at I was afraid to even pick up my phone.
How much were they offering?
They don't start right off with the price. They're like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing some private photo shoots for me?"
And they're not talking about nudity. They
want your
pictures.
feet. It's all about the feet,
I
man.
would do it. You get like paid
Yeah.
like $100,000 a month. I mean, some of these girls, if you got good feet, I got skinny mama's dainty toes.
Yeah, they just liked the shoes apparently that I was
Oh,
wearing.
that's weird.
And I'm sure they're just looking. If they're casting the net, right? They're looking to see which one of us bites, and it was not going to be me. It's creepy.
Dude, I don't want to see feet ever.
Ugh.
What's
Right.
your fetish?
I don't have one.
Oh,
I really, honestly,
here
I
we
don't
go.
have one.
All right, Bubba, go ahead.
I don't have one.
it got weird.
That got
Did
weird,
Did
yeah.
the hair kind of dry up in here?
I'm
when you
very,
asked?
very open with it. I have zero fetishes. I
Brian
have
is comfortable here.
Nothing pushes the button any different than anything else. Actually,
Okay.
no. I will say I like tan lines.
Oh yeah.
That might be my
Oh,
thing.
yes.
And I'll tell you
And
why I like
scrubs,
tan
you like
lines.
scrubs.
You
And
like scrubs.
I do like
Scrubs is a
scrubs
whole
because it's the
thing, man.
brainy thing, and I think brains are sexy. But I think tan lines also, though, because when you see those tan lines, those are something that nobody else gets to see.
Yeah, you're supposed
so
to
you're
not
like,
see.
this is like my private little thing, you know? So tan lines and scrubs. That's okay. Yeah, those are my things.
I remember I had an agent that told me that.
An
he says
Asian?
agent.
Oh, agent.
No, no. Yeah, no, an agent who told me not to come back with tan lines, and he said because you look like you're out of work.
Oh.
So I didn't mean to kill the whole thing.
That's
I apologize
crazy.
for that.
So they think that it looks
Because
like you're on
I'm
vacation.
on vacation all the time. You need to look like you're working.
Wow.
So yeah,
Yeah. Well, maybe a little overthinking that, but I don't know.
That's
should-
what they get paid for, I guess.
we should
is-
call him
What's his name?
Gigi.
You had a dude as part of your career named Gigi?
Gigi, yeah, Gigi, Glenn Galino. Well, Gigi when he went out partying, and then Glenn with two N's.
All right.
Glenn with two
Glenn
N's.
with
Every
Don't
Glenn
get that
with
wrong.
two ends
Glenn.
that I know actually is a good dude.
He's a pretty good dude.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. We're still good buddies to this day. He's like, hey, I'm Gigi.
I was going to ask this earlier. After you went and worked at CNN and Headline News and MTV and all that, recently you came back to radio and did country radio.
Yes.
How was that different? What was that
I
experience?
was nervous about going back into it just because it's been 20 years since I potted the mic up. Other than like doing a scripted TRL weekend countdown show, that was it. That was 20. I mean, that's 20 years ago. I was nervous. I've never been more excited in my entire life. It's the most fun I ever had.
Doing mornings?
We're doing mornings. So much fun. Yeah. Then it all came to a crashing halt.
What happened? You can talk about it or not talk about it.
I mean,
It's-
yeah. I mean, it is what it is. We actually the ratings were pretty good and we were doing really well. And
The ratings are actually really,
yeah,
really good.
I just feel like there's certain people that didn't like me there, and that was it. And I was
Did
just
those
like,
people come in after you?
No.
Okay, because usually I've seen it so many times to where you're there, you're successful, and a new program director or operations guy comes in, or even general manager, and you're not their idea. Even if you're
that
doing
was it.
great, even if you're doing great, they go, that's not my idea.
I think they were like the feeling that I got was, especially from the jump, was they didn't like my past, and I've been on TV like pretty much the last 20 years. And I've dated some people, and they didn't like some of the girls that I dated. I think one of them was they were upset that I dated a playmate, and it was like, they want to know if I could take some of these things off the air, but that wasn't the reason behind it.
Take them off the air. What do you mean, like?
Take them offline. Like,
Oh.
it removed
Yeah, could
that,
you go to Google?
But I'm proud of my past. You know, I've got a great son. I've got, I was going to have him move out to Colorado, and that didn't happen. But I'm not bitter about it. It's like, it
This
is what
is in
it
Denver?
is. Yeah, Denver. Yeah.
YGO?
Yeah. It's a great station. Person I worked with was awesome. So it was, I mean,
If Eddie was still there, he would have kept you.
yes. Yeah. No, it was
Eddie.
fun. I'm telling you, it was the most fun I've ever done. Out of anything I've ever done, radio, TV, it was the most fun I've ever had.
So what are you going to do now?
Bubba and Big D.
Oh.
I'm
you
gonna
here now? Is
I'm
that
gonna
what
work.
it-
I'm gonna
that
work
works?
here. I'm gonna work
okay.
here. Yeah.
That's news to us.
This
Y'all
is a
don't-
great place
Glad
to
to
work.
have you.
Oh, we
see,
have
this-
Altar Boy.
This is every day. So
Carson, you promised. I'm parking cars for Cyndi Lauper.
we didn't know. We didn't know this was a job interview.
You told me that this was. You told me I was waiting for the questions. You told
Tell me about a time.
He's like, we need a valet for the entourages. I'm your guy.
That's what I love about country.
know,
is
one
usually they
thing-
just drive their own car and they just show up. There's no entourage, no silly things. You might have a record label rep show up. Usually you do. And that's it. They're just cool.
It's my favorite genre of music, and the people too. God, it was cool. I mean, Blake Shelton called me and he's in his pickup truck on a cell phone. I'm like, he didn't. And when I answered, I was shocked that it was Blake Shelton. I was like, he's like, hey man. I was like, oh my God, it's Blake Shelton. Okay, I guess we're ready. And he didn't have a PR person. He was the biggest star in country music.
That's why country music, I think, is different than anything else, is because there's this weird little thing that the table was set way back when, and country music and country radio and stardom, whatever you want to call it, they don't allow egos. And those people who do have the egos get weeded out pretty quickly. And it's interesting how you see that unfold almost on a yearly basis. You can see the names that drop off and you go, oh, okay.
Oh, 100%. And then you could tell the people that don't have the heart for country, you know? It's one of those, like, you know if someone's a true country fan. And if it wasn't for country music, I would have never got MTV. I broke out into a Randy Travis song during my audition. And I was auditioning for a game show, not a country song. I mean, and this is MTV. We're in the height of, like, the bubblegum pop and boy band era. And they were like, so tell us about your childhood. I was like, oh, I grew up, my mom, she's like saying, tell me about your favorite music. I'm like, in the middle of the song, I'm going, why am I singing Randy Travis? And why am I, this is MTV. I blew this audition and I ended up getting the show.
And they liked it because you were probably
I was
different.
just being myself.
Yeah,
And,
natural.
Carson, what were you going to say?
I was going to say I don't know what we're doing on time wise, but we cannot let Brian go without telling us about the time he was on Dawson's Creek.
Oh, wait. You were on Dawson's Creek with Carson's favorite person?
Do you know about Carson and her connection to Dawson's Creek?
Yes.
You do
This
know
might have been discussed over drinks last night.
Yeah.
So
it was,
for those of you listening to the podcast, if this is your first time, let me tell you that Carson went to elementary school and middle school with James
Church.
Vanderbeek.
Yep.
James
and church,
Vanderbeek.
and
We were-
Of course.
We were confirmed together.
Oh,
sure,
yes.
sure.
And so and
Come on,
Carson
just
has no love for the Vanderbeek family. Any of them.
he wasn't really liked on the set of Dawson's Creek either.
Yes, that's
right.
Yeah.
What?
Like he told me this, and I was like, "Oh, you are my favorite
this-
person ever for this intel."
This isn't me saying it.
Nope.
No.
You're just the
He's not
messenger.
he's not a casting director, is he? No.
No, James Vanderbeek isn't doing much.
I got to tell you, that was a lot of fun though, because I was a
Diplo
part
thing
of.
still on the air?
God, that was so much fun. It was weird too because there's shows that I forget that I was on because I did Sabrina the Teenage Witch.
Yeah.
And my son hits me up and he's like, "Dad, when were you on this show? This is weird." Because he's watching it with his girlfriend, and we kind of look the same, especially now, from back in those days.
Yeah.
And, that was weird. But Dawson's, you were there, weren't you?
No.
Oh, you never went because you grew up in
No,
Connecticut.
like,
Okay.
oh my god, yeah,
Oh,
I was
okay.
certainly not going to be
Okay.
invited.
It was fun.
to-
I played opposite of Joey. I had a big crush on her, but she was dating Chris Klein, who was also from Nebraska, and he just did was it American
American Pie, yeah.
And she dumped him. Like I think a couple years after that for a guy named Tom Cruise. Yeah, Tom Cruise.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
So
heard
are you still upset with James? Vanderbeek?
I mean, not upset. Yes, I hate him. It's fine.
I still think.
Does
the
he know
ultimate-
this?
No, I
No,
don't
and
think
we
he
tried
does.
to get him
Why
on the
would he
show.
know?
He won't get on the show?
No,
Regularly
not yet.
try to
And
get him to
if
come on the
we-
show just to surprise Carson.
And if we
have
do
a
get him
reunion.
on, she'll leave.
Yeah, what a
if she
nightmare.
walks in,
Really?
and, if
What a
she walks
nightmare.
in
Tell
and
you.
Vanderbeek is sitting where you are, she will just turn around, get in her car, and leave.
Oh, I'm
I know
hiding
her.
him. Don't ever doubt. It's gonna happen. I'm locking the doors. I'm having somebody big.
But
sit
how
on
many
the
years
other
ago? It was
side.
20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, we were kids together, but I.
Did he do something to you that you just...
No, he just was a terrible person. His family wasn't great either, and I'm.
He stole all the good roles in the
Yeah.
church play.
Every year he's Joseph in the,
Yeah,
in the
my
Christmas
God.
pageant.
I do
Joseph
not want your
Jesus
life.
Andrew.
No,
I don't want your
and
life.
I've told it before, but it's 100% true that when they tried to prank me by telling me Vanderbeek was coming on the show, I put on Facebook to all the people I grew up with, like, y'all, what am I gonna do? They're bringing Vanderbeek on, and the venom coming through my page going, tell him we hate him. Tell him never come
Everybody,
back to
apparently.
All
Cheshire.
the people that went to school with him.
Yeah, everybody
Oh my
like sending
God.
me PMs going like, no, well, you tell him you're a representative to finally tell him what we think of him. And I was like, yeah.
What if I told you, and because I know a thing or two about James, he does a lot of philanthropy, and he
He's a
goes
good
to
guy.
church often.
He's a good guy.
Yes, I know. We went to church
What
together.
if he changed? And people do change.
So I found out, and because he doesn't want this to get out there, but he like in the winter he shovels people's driveways for free.
He just shows up, and you look out your
Doesn't
window, and
even
there's
use a
James
snowblower.
Vanderbeek.
I don't know if Brian's making this up or not, but I really hope
he
so.
uses his
Huge
forehead.
fan.
He uses his forehead to clear the snow.
He likes puppy dogs, and he's a fan of a few cats.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Just a couple. But yeah, he's
And-
look, man.
Everybody has that one person that they really don't like.
And just mine got famous.
What if I
Yeah.
told you
That's
that James had a crush on you in high school?
that would have been a lie. So,
But if he did,
yeah.
would it change? He'd be like,
No.
No.
First, no.
Maybe
but-
that's why he had the meanness.
No, I'm telling you.
'Cause back
But it
then-
wasn't just to me. This is the thing that I promise you, it's not just me centric. This is not. I can't. I verbally cannot stop talking about my disdain for
Brian,
this man.
can
I
you
need
help
to
me
stop.
get James Vanderbeek on the show? You know, do you have some kind of in on
You
this?
know people
Look
who
at his
know
face.
people.
I just dogged him out on your show. It's nationally syndicated.
No, but you
wouldn't
tried
take
to
my
also,
call.
You also
Brian,
tried to
who?
redeem him. You did.
Oh my
Yeah,
god! Yeah, I
that's right,
did.
You did.
Yeah.
You said nice
Yeah.
things.
My mama always said, "Love all God's children." Even James Vanderbeek.
That's what Vanderbeek
James
said too.
Vanderbeek.
As he was clearing out the.
Anytime I post pictures when I go back to my hometown, I usually go to church and take a few photos. And the amount of people that comment, they're like, "Is that the church you went to Vanderbeek? Is that you too?" And I'm like, "Thank you. That
yeah.
will be." The problem is that's my legacy. now.
September 14th is James Vanderbeek Day here on the show. It's
that
the
his
day-
birthday?
No, it's the day we found out Carson went to church with James Vanderbeek.
Yeah,
in
we didn't
middle
know
school.
any of that.
We didn't know
September.
that. It was such a great day that I put it in the calendar so it reminds me every year.
What?
And every
That
year
is
on that
awesome.
day we talk about it's James Vanderbeek Day. And we celebrate
And then you
the time
tweet
we
him,
learned. And then
and
we
you
tweet
try
him.
so hard
Oh.
to get him to come on. Like,
James.
hey, Vander James.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
he was doing that Diplo thing for a while, that TV
Man.
show, and we're like, man, you want to do some press for your show?
So he knows this is a show not to go on because you've
Probably.
dogged him so much.
I don't know. I don't know if he
He doesn't
does or
know.
not.
He knows now.
I mean, we will be nice to him. Carson doesn't like him. I mean, the rest of us are
I
like
actually love Varsity
super
Blues.
accepting of
is-
James Vanderbeek.
Varsity Blues is one of my favorite movies. I've always loved that movie. And
Look
I,
at Carson.
So bad.
Are you kidding me? That's one of the greatest movies of all time. It's the reason why I
I'm
eat
sorry.
Kool-Aid.
I thought you were a good person.
man, you had everybody in that movie back then.
Oh
I
my
mean,
God,
Right.
Allie Larder,
Ally
Paul
Larder.
Walker.
Yeah,
You know,
Paul
like,
Walker. I mean, it was a good.
No, you had all sorts of great people, and then him, right? Like, I mean, you had John Voight in that movie.
yeah.
So again, he
Who
was just
a
very.
great coach. Oh my gosh.
I remember meeting Allie Larder, and the first time I met her was at SNL after party, and it was right after that movie came out. And I didn't. She's from Jersey, and I had no idea because I wanted her. I was like sitting there just trying to because I thought she was so hot, and I was like, God, please talk like that. And she's like, you're looking at me like you want me to put whipped cream or whatever, and she goes, don't, because everyone was asking her at that time, to do
Yeah,
that.
to do the whipped cream thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't imagine why.
Did you introduce her on stage, Patrick?
No.
Come to the main
Gentlemen,
stage.
step right up, put some green on the scene.
Allie Larder.
Allie. Cool and whips. Dude, thanks
So
for coming
terrible.
in.
So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
You can find him just at Brian McFayden, right? Just at Twitter. I'm looking at a picture of you and your kid. He's a good-looking guy, man.
Oh, thank you.
That's
Yeah, he's a
awesome. You
good
should be
kid.
proud.
He called me today, and it's weird. There's those moments, those dad moments. He called me up, and he's talking about taking a pre-law class. I'm like, oh, my kid's gonna be an attorney, and that's not gonna happen. But
Hey, man, you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
He's a sweet kid.
Just remember, too, you had plans that were nothing like what you ended up doing anyway. And how many times did your plans change in that thing? I mean, most people change careers 7 times.
Yeah, no, it's
Not
true.
jobs, careers.
And I feel like in this job, I feel like we're all lucky though to have this for so long.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, I'm going to go back to waiting tables, and I've been fortunate to kind of reinvent myself like over and over again. But guys, thank you so much for
I
having
hope
me
you
on. This has
didn't
been
get
fun.
fat. Don't get fat. Look,
Don't hang out with us because I was
You got
thin. I
hot
was
sauce?
thin like you. I was until I started hanging out with these guys, and then it
He
happened.
blames me.
It's contagious.
I do.
Well, this is out of a job weight loss. I mean, I was like, oh, I've got time. I can work out. I could diet.
Now, Bubba could get fired tomorrow, and it wouldn't make a difference. He would. Same with me. Like I wouldn't suddenly go, oh,
Yeah.
man. It's a great barometer of that is how you reacted to the pandemic. Did you spend your time alone eating Cheetos or lifting dumbbells?
I did
And most of
well
us
the
ate
first
Cheetos.
part of it. I really did. I was social distancing a lot. I was outdoors a lot. I was doing whatever. And then at some point, I just started staying home, and I gained 30 pounds.
Oh my God, mine was like 30 pounds of liquor. I drank so much. I mean, we all did, I guess.
Yeah, we all did.
Do you remember the video, that viral video that went by, and the guy was like going through the whole neighborhood, and he was just like filming everyone's recycling
Garbage
bins,
bottles.
and it was all just bottles of wine and vodka. I was like, "Yep, that was pretty much the pandemic."
Yeah.
I actually think I drank less because I'm more of a
Because it
go
wasn't
out
free.
yeah, it wasn't free. I wasn't going to parties and record labels buying me whiskey, so I guess I drank less of it.
That was the key to my weight loss, was quitting drinking.
Really?
And it was. I have occasional drinks now, especially when I hear these stories with Carson. But yeah, I stopped for like 4 months just so I can detox and get reset. Yeah,
That's good, man.
that's the key to it. But guys, thank you for having me out.
thank you,
You guys
man.
are a lot of fun.
So we got Jimmy Allen on.
Jimmy
Yeah, for
Allen.
those of you watching on the YouTube stream, you're not going to be able to hear that. For those of you who are listening on any podcast app, yes, Jimmy Allen talking about the gold edition of Betty James. It's really cool. It's a fun interview. It's only like 20 minutes, but it's really, really packed with a bunch of really cool stuff. That's my professional grade tease there.
Really cool
Wow.
stuff.
Yeah. Brian McFayden, thank you again.
Thanks,
you can
dude.
follow him on Twitter, and that is at
don't-
Brian McFayden.
I don't really tweet though.
Oh, really?
He's on the
Instagram?
Instas.
Is it the
Instagram.
same?
thing at Brian McFayden.
Okay.
right?
Yeah, Instagram and Facebook. I mean, yeah, but you can follow me on Twitter. It's fine. You probably get the only time I tweet is football season.
Okay. Well, during football season, you can tweet back and forth with him. So, again, that's right after this little closing jingle. Thank you to O'Reilly Auto Parts for being our sponsor. Once again, we love you guys.
This was the podcast, but now it's over. But that's okay. You can listen to the regular show on the radio every day. It was the podcast.
Jesus Christ.